Hello and welcome to this special edition of Carlos and Lisa, a live chat with you, with the IRS to talk all about the new monthly child tax credit. I know you guys have so many questions that you need answers to. And so I'm grateful to have a longtime friend, Raphael Tulino, who is the spokesperson for the IRS, here with us to answer your questions. And I have the live stream up here. And so I will be answering those questions with him for you. Hi, Raphael.
Hi, Lisa. Thanks for having me. Hi, everybody.
Hi, thank you for joining us. Okay, so before we get to the user questions, I just want to ask, we just had a deadline, right? Yesterday was the deadline to opt out for the very first July monthly child tax credit, but there are options for people to opt out in the future, correct?
Right, so the deadline was yesterday for the first payment, and I believe if you look at our FAQs, which I'll probably refer to a lot on irs.gov, I believe there are other dates that are deadlines, if you will, for the second payment, third payment, fourth payment, fifth payment, that kind of a thing. But the bottom line is, if you didn't opt out, then you'll get the first payment because it's an opt-out feature, the way we're administering this, the way the law says. So you have to opt out of it. Otherwise, you're opted in for the most part.
Got it. Okay, I'm going to just jump right in here. Fran Tulia says, do I qualify for the monthly child tax credit if I file my nieces and nephews? So do other kind of dependents other than direct children count?
Yeah, basically the definition of a dependent, if it's on your tax return, then generally yes. So, and there are those tests to be a dependent. I believe there's 7 of them off the top. It has to do with support and income and you know where you live and that kind of thing. But if it's a dependent, it's a dependent.
Okay. Roxana C says, usually the tax credit is for 3 kids only. Since this year is so different, do all of our kids qualify? So I get that question a lot, Raphael. Is this monthly child tax credit and this new amount of child tax credit for all your children, or is it just for 3?
So I'm not aware of anything that says it's for a limited number of children. Now, that being said, I'd have to research it to know exactly off the top. But from what I've read and understood, I don't see anything in the enhanced and advanced version that limits it to 3. Now, that's not to say that's not true, but that's what I know off the top at this point. Okay.
So here's another one that people ask me quite a bit. So if for some reason, the portal, when they check it, it says they are not eligible, or their status is pending, or perhaps they need to add a new 2021 baby to the monthly child tax credit portal. You know, that usually won't be able to happen until later, maybe August, maybe September. So the question is do they get back pay from July, or does the months they miss get recouped on the 2021 tax return?
You would be putting that on your tax return for 2021 when you file in 22, because the bottom line is these are advance payments once a month beginning in July through December, up to half of the amount of the credit. And that's $2,500 or $250 a month, if you will, for 6 to 17 age, and then $300 under age 6. So if you miss any of those, just like if you didn't opt out, then you'll have a chance to recoup that information, or recoup that credit, I should say, with the information you put on a tax return in 2022. One of the things to know about, there will be a reconciliation for pretty much everybody on this, because you're basing eligibility per what the law tells us to do on a 19 or 20 return. And for the most part, it's going to be a 20 return because most people have filed. If you're on extension and you haven't filed yet, then 19 is what's going to be used. But it's an advance of a tax credit that's available only in 2021 using eligibility on a 20 return. So there will be some changes, I would imagine, for a lot of families and a lot of folks. So that reconciliation will be done on a tax return when you file next year. That said, if you look at the eligibility assistant on irs.gov, it can give you an idea of what you might be eligible for based on your full and complete financial picture with taxes and the such, and maybe you want to opt out. Maybe you don't want all the money this year because there might be a change and you want to put it on your tax return when you file in 2022. Or you might say, I want this money in my pocket throughout the whole year as opposed to waiting for a tax refund. It's going to depend on the situation for each and every taxpayer because we all have our, our own unique set of facts and circumstances.
I get this one quite a bit as well. Heather Williams asks, still haven't received my taxes, which I think she means she hasn't received her refund, or she doesn't think that her tax or 2020 taxes have been processed. It says still processing. Will I get the tax credit in July?
Well, if the return is processed, it's going to be based on that 20 return. If not, it'll be based on a 19 return, based on eligibility. Remember, eligibility has to do with the dependent qualifications generally, and then main home, United States for half the year, and then the income level. So the enhanced and the advanced version begin to phase out at $75,000 single, $150 married filing joint. And then it phases out completely. I think it's $50 for every 1,000, if I remember it right. So there's that. The other thing is, if you don't qualify for the enhanced or advanced 21 version of this, the old child tax credit, which was changed in the law from 2017, is $2,000 per child. It goes on a tax return, and those are incomes 200,000 or less, or 400 married filing joint. So there's still the child tax credit that's out there. This is just an enhanced and advanced version. But going back to her question, eligibility is going to depend on 19 or 20. And to be quite honest, there's a lot of folks out there. We've seen it. We understand it. We're still asking for patients, refunds not processed or provided yet. It's been a long, tough year, understanding what we're having to do in terms of the administration of economic impact payments, the advanced child tax credit, the unemployment retroactive, 2 tax filing seasons. I mean, everything going on. We're doing the best we can to get it out as fast as we can. So that being said, those are some of the, maybe some reasons or some behind the scenes, just still looking for some patience there and an understanding that there might be errors too. So if it gets kicked out for errors, that could slow it down as well.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about delayed refunds because I know people have a lot of questions about that. But sticking with the child tax credit for right now, Christy Cobb asks, will the child tax credit that you will receive from July to December be taxed as income for 2021?
It's an advance on a tax credit, so generally no. Like the economic impact payment, same thing. That's not taxable either.
Right.
And by the way, Lisa, it's fully refundable. That was part of the change in this as well. So even if you owe little or no tax, you get the rest of it back as a tax credit, as a refund, I should say, just like the earned income credit, for example, which is a refundable tax credit. So that was part of this new version as well.
Right. That's an important point to make, because I think that that's another change that people don't talk about, or I haven't talked about specifically on my channel recently, but that it is a fully refundable credit, and that which makes it very different than the way it was before.
Yeah, pretty much. So refundable credits are a little rare. There are a few out there. This one is now part of that. And like I said, this is only for 21 only. We're going to see what happens if Congress changes the law and we have to administer going forward from there, then so be it. But for now, that's how it's written. That's how we're administering the credit.
Gabby Cadena says, I am eligible for the child tax credit, but the portal says no eligible payment. Will that update?
It should. I don't know. So those portals are fluid. They are changing. There's going to be updates, for example, in terms of your eligibility and the return we have for you, the information we have, the security features you need to get through to get past it to begin with, to get in there and make an account happen. And then also, as we go, the features will be changed. For example, childbirth, if you want to change bank account information, that kind of thing, those features will be added to the UP portal, the CTC-UP, as we're calling an update portal, as the year goes, to give people those opportunities to provide that information to the agency. But considering the speed, we've had to get this out and get this out here pretty quickly. We're working pretty quick to get these features going. It's just not as easy as you might think to get them all out at one time. So it's evolving, and the information's out there, evolves with it, and so are we.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting to people that the IRS is by law required to do this by July 15th. So they are under the gun to set up this entire new portal and all of these different options for you to opt in and opt out and change things and all of these things that are not normal for the IRS to do. So this is all new. Gabrielle Rydell asks, where will my first child tax credit payment go since I cannot update my bank information?
It should go to the last piece of information we have on file for you. So if you file normally and choose direct deposit, then it should come direct deposit with the bank account information we have for you. If you choose a paper check, it should come as a paper check. Because like I said, because it's based on the eligibility from the information we have from 19 and 20 returns. So that's generally the answer. Just to repeat though, there will be soon, I don't know when, maybe July, maybe in August at some point, if not sooner than that, the ability to change your bank account information going forward. But for now, that's what we have.
Okay. I've had a lot of people ask me or tell me anecdotally that when they are trying to opt out or going to the irs.gov/child tax credit 2021, you scroll down, they want to try and opt out, but they have to get that, they have to actually create an account, and it's asking for all kinds of information like picture IDs and all of these things. And people have said to me, is that safe? They're kind of scared of it. I just want to hear from you the reasoning why the IRS needs all that stuff.
So the account, the partner is IDMe, and that's who IRS Treasury chose to help IRS in terms of getting people in to do these things and balancing, right? On one hand, you want to get people in there to get the information to IRS. On the other hand, you want security because the IRS needs all this intrusive personal information. I'd say intrusive, but personal information that can be intrusive to bad guys, right? So we need that information in order to administer this. We're doing this with the speed and precision as best we can, which is doing it online through the IRS website. So at the same time, there's a balance there with all the security features to create that account to make sure people are who they are and not a bad guy, if you will, getting in to do some things that won't be fun for a lot of people, ID theft and things like that, and fraud, that kind of thing. So there's a balance there that you're trying to strike. And unfortunately, there's a lot of features there that are different from in the past because that's where we have to be quite honest, right?
So just for the bottom line is, yes, it is okay that this trusted partner that the IRS has contracted with, it's okay to go ahead and put up all of those very personal, documents and things like that through the IRS website.
Yeah, you're going to need to because that's what's being asked to get in there. And if you're not sure about IDMe, by all means, do a search, take a look at the partnership the IRS has with them. I believe there's a link that'll tell you that, at least at irs.gov, but they're a partner. And just like I believe Intuit is in the Free File Alliance for the non-filer tool. So if you're a non-filer and you choose the non-filer portal, that return, that simple return you're going to do to get information to the agency is with Intuit as a partner through the Free File Alliance to get that return in as quick as possible so that we can turn around and start administering that advance payment to you if you're a non-filer normally ASAP.
Right. Valerie, I think it's Whitted. I think her last name is Valerie. I'm sorry if I butchered your last name. What if this is something that, she's clearly talking about her personal situation, but I think this goes for a lot of parents that have that trade-off filing, claiming the child.
Right.
She says, what if the parents are separated, filing jointly, and father refuses to opt out? You can interchange father with mother, whoever you want. But what happens if, the 2020 was mom and 2022 is dad, and mom is refusing to opt out? Like, what should they do?
Honestly, right, I don't know. I heard this question last week, and I thought it was worthy enough to raise because in all the FAQs on irs.gov, and if you look at topic H, there's the reconciliation part, and there are about 9 or 10 questions there. Nothing really addresses divorce or separation and dependency and the sharing of dependence, unfortunately. It's going to be dependent on the complete set of facts and circumstances, like you say this lady described. I couldn't tell you one way or another, to be honest. I can tell you that there are some general rules in IRS publication 504. That's the divorced and separated pub. 504, publication 504, easily found on irs.gov. And I would imagine, I don't know if this is the case at all, those rules generally will apply here for this tax credit, because like I say, you have sharing of dependents one year, the next year, it's going to be based on a certain return. And then there's rules about opting out and this, that. So it's not going to be as easy, unfortunately, but I don't have an exact answer, but I hope at some point when our FAQs continue to expand, we might address this generally, because you don't really know until you know the complete set of facts and circumstances, unfortunately. But that publication, along with some of those FAQs, might give you a pretty good idea of where you're going to land.
But generally, the tax credit and the monthly child tax credit and the remaining balance, the 50% remaining balance, goes to whoever it is that files for the child in 2021, correct?
It's going to depend on, who gets the dependent on the return. And if the IRS sees, one with the dependent where you didn't file this, you may get some, you might get a letter or something, or some questioning about it going forward. I believe one of the rules is where two parents share a dependent and two returns come in, there's a set of tiebreaker rules that have to be kind of applied to see who gets the actual dependent. And then there's a divorce decree and things like that that are written, as well as that publication. So I wish it were easier said than done to answer that, but you get the idea. There's a lot going on to answer a specific question, but generally there's going to be some reconciliation, and that'll be part of it as well. No question about it, as people turn the page. Now, that being said, if you're in that situation and perhaps there's some complexities there that you don't want to deal with, then you opt out altogether, both parents, if you can, or at least talk to another parent. And that way you deal with it all on a tax return like you normally do when you file in 2022.
Yeah, it could get really complicated. I could see how those situations could get really complicated really quickly.
Unfortunately, that's just what we have to deal with, right?
Yeah, of course.
So,
I mean, and I know lots of divorced parents have to deal with this stuff all the time. Okay, a couple of more things. I want to just, let me make sure I don't have any other. So if these payments, so for example, if you have a 2020 tax return on file with the IRS and it has been processed, but that bank account that was on the 2020 tax return is not valid, but you do qualify for the child tax credit, in July, the IRS is going to probably send that direct deposit to a bank account that is already closed. Does it get kicked back, or how does that?
What happens to that? So remember the 3 rounds of economic impact payments we just went through? We saw a lot of that with that, where the bank hopefully just kicks it back to the IRS. And what the IRS did with economic impact payments rounds 1, 2, and 3, at least the third one, as I remember off the top, is that we would turn around and issue a paper check. So you would hope that the financial institution just rejects it, sends it back, and then from there, we'll take care of it with a paper check. I'm not so sure that's going to be the case with this. I really don't know, but that is that's part of it. Perhaps if the first payment's kicked back, then that's a credit you put on your return when you file next year. If you get the second payment after you go to the portal and change it, then maybe you get the second. I mean, it's like I say, it's going to depend obviously on when we get that portal updated and people can change their bank account information. But you should keep an eye on irs.gov for that. That feature should be there pretty soon, as I mentioned. So sorry to be redundant.
No, according to the FAQ that I read, and I have a video about it on my page, as of late June, which would in my brain be either today or tomorrow, as of late June, you will be able to update your bank account. So
maybe it's earlier. Maybe it's earlier than what I said. I was thinking maybe July, August. That would be maybe for children. But maybe we have this thing going sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Okay. I want to just also, because I'm getting a lot of questions on this. So like Irene Ortiz is asking about the unemployment tax refund. And I know that a big chunk or an initial chunk of those tax refunds went out in early June. There was a release from the press, from the IRS about that. And then it said, the press release said that there would be another batch going out mid-June. Yep. And I think people are asking, when are those batches going out?
Yeah, I believe it did, and that's going on throughout the whole summer. So as a quick backdrop, right, this is a retroactive piece of tax law, the tax provision there that exempts from taxation the first $10,200 per person in unemployment for household incomes of $150 or less. And that was in mid-March, after many people have already filed. So the IRS identified about 13 million people who had already filed returns, who had already paid taxes on this income, will be issued a refund. But the thing is, to go about and do something and change a law in the middle of a tax filing season retroactive is not easy to do, along the same lines as doing this advanced child tax credit and doing that. So a lot going on behind the scenes. So still asking for patience. If you haven't received those refunds, we're working on it. But the batches and the method of the madness is still set. There were some simple ones done back in late May, early June. And the more complex ones, I believe, are going to be done later on as we get into July and August. But those batches continue to go out, and hopefully sooner rather than later, because we know people want their money ASAP. But at the same time, we're still asking for some patience there so we can get it all done right.
Right. The other thing I want to talk about, because I get questions about it all the time, is the tax returns. People are saying that they filed in February, they filed in March, and some of them filed in April, and they still have not gotten their refunds yet. And I'm wondering if you can just give people kind of a lay of the land in short form and layman's terms, a lay of the land of what you guys are dealing with at the IRS and all of the reasons why it could be that things are going slower this year than they have in the past.
Yeah, it's been anything but normal, and no excuses, but 3 rounds of economic back payments, 4 enormous pieces of legislation right in the middle of 2 tax filing season, March of this year, March of last year with the CARES Act. So hundreds and hundreds of millions of interactions with taxpayers, lots of different things we're doing that are out of the norm that we normally will do as an agency, obviously, for the last 15, 16 months. So like I say, still asking for some patience here. What you're seeing a lot of is we had a backlog, if you will, of paper, because this agency pretty much was shut down for many weeks and opened in July of last year. But to catch up with all that backlog, it's taken a long time. You have many people who are slowly getting back to work as we, as a society, communities, open up and get back to normalcy. But still, that's being worked out and going forward there. The other thing to make note is there's a lot of different things that are going on in return. For example, the recovery rebate credit. And if there's errors on a tax return, that can kick it out to error resolution. That slows things down. So a lot of these may be errors. There might be some identity theft involved in some things that slow things down. But the frustrating part, and we understand, is trying to get through to the agency so you understand. And unfortunately, it's not easy to do because it's a resource issue based on that. So that's why it's unfortunately, hey, irs.gov. You wish you could say, hey, here's a number you can call and get through right away. But unfortunately, it's taking some time. But the IRS website is set up for that as best we can to provide information. Unfortunately, for those expecting refunds, all I can tell you is patience, understand what's going on here, and we're doing what we can to administer and get it out and get it right, too, at the same time. So you're not sending out fraudulent refunds or anything incorrect and dealing with errors and all the different, it's not just that, too, all of these provisions in the CARES Act. So it was, it's been a tough year, so I smile and say I'm sorry, but the one thing I will make mention, if I have a second here, Lisa, is now that we're halfway done through the year, right in the middle, consider adjusting your withholding, your taxes, taking a look. You don't have to get a refund. You do not have to have the IRS hold your money for you throughout the whole year. You can adjust it as close as you can to zero as possible. Even a small balance due. That just means you had your money throughout the whole year in your pocket. And when it came time to file your tax return, you weren't waiting for a tax refund that unfortunately has taken a little bit longer than normal in most years. So that's a great point.
That's a great point. Yeah, I know a lot of people like the idea of having a big tax refund, but it is also your option to not have such a thing and be able to keep your own money throughout the year. As Raphael says, you can adjust throughout the year to make that a reality. Elizabeth, this is a good question, and this is we're going to just do a couple more. But Elizabeth Mihanos, I think. I'm sorry, Elizabeth, if I butchered your last name. She says, "What about people on SSI?" I think she means SSDI with kids. Will they get the child tax credit? So that would probably fall under the non-filers portal, I would imagine.
Right. Yeah. I don't believe you. I would assume you don't need any income for this, as far as I understand. So yeah, you would want to go if you're a non-filer. you don't normally file a return because your income, for example, is below that threshold, or it's not taxable, for example, senior citizens who just get Social Security, that kind of thing, then you want to use a non-filer's tool to provide that information to the IRS so you can begin to get these payments if you choose to want them throughout the whole year.
And then I saw a note today that I think is important too, because I think a lot of people have messaged me about this as well. Is the IRS continuing to send out stimulus checks that are missing? So people that have missed their EIP-3, are those payments still going out for if you are eligible but have not yet received them?
Yeah, I think, we just issued a news release today on that with some pretty big numbers, and I believe some of them are still going out. I'm not sure how many. Obviously, the vast majority are gone and issued, but as the weeks go by and returns are processed, because some people are still on extension, you might see, yes, a trickle of returns going out related to economic impact payments, because by law, we're administering that throughout the whole year as well. And the extension deadline is through October 15th. So the general answer is, I believe yes there, but it's a very, 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 very small number. But still, you're going to see those payments going out. Yeah.
Okay. This will be the last one. Keisha Ramos says, will the child tax credit be in the mailbox on the 15th each month, or will be mailed out on the 15th each month?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know the answer. I'm presuming if it's direct deposit, it's July 15th. If it's a check, you'd have to check those FAQs. I'm not exactly sure the wording, but hopefully as close to possible to July 15th, depending on where you live, how fast the Postal Service gets those checks out in the mail and all that. But what I would definitely share or offer is, at some point when that banking account information feature is added to the update portal, perhaps consider the ease and use of direct deposit and bail on that paper check if it's possible for you to do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, and according to the last release I found on the FAQ, you can update your bank account information late June. By early August, you can change your address. And by late summer, you can add your qualified dependents, change your marital status, change your income, and re-enroll if you accidentally opt out. So as Raphael said, to avoid the whole hassle of the mail and all of that, waiting for a paper check, perhaps it would be easiest to update on the portal your bank account information, so it just gets direct deposited and you don't have to worry about it. Raphael, are there any other bits of wisdom you want to share with people before we go?
Watch out for scams related to this, right? Anything that seems like it's too good to be true, with a scam, with a text or an email, or if you're a tax professional, if you're getting some of the more sophisticated scams. There's so much out there these days. They've grown more sophisticated in terms of scams, and the bad guys preying on all of us, if you will, to try to get you to provide either your information or clicking on a link so malware can be downloaded. So just be wary of all that comes along with this. Unfortunately, that's unfortunately is part of things, and really consider changing or adjusting your withholding. The IRS withholding estimator on irs.gov is pretty good. So consider, now that the year is half over, I'll kind of reiterate this, making a change to the taxes you have withheld and bring that closer to what you actually owe and pay or receive as a refund throughout the whole year. So with all the different things that are going on, the tax provisions, a lot of folks may be getting benefits there. Maybe you adjust a little bit, and that way you avoid the frustration for refunds and all the processing that goes along with that when you get to next year.
Absolutely. All right, Raphael.
Oh yeah, it's irs.gov 24/7. Sorry, irs.gov 24/7.
24/7. Got it.
Yeah, irs.gov. If you want to get a hold of the agency, by all means, we have those numbers, the phone numbers up there. If you need face-to-face help in an office, make an appointment and do that. But try the website first for anything.
Yeah, there's a lot of great information there. I have all of that information linked on all of my social media pages to make it easier for you. Raphael, I appreciate your time today. I know everybody here appreciates your time. So thank you for doing this.
Yeah, no worries. It was a good time and a half hour, but it seemed like it just was 5 minutes. Easy conversation.
Like
Glad to know
right?
this stuff.
I know. All right, guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Lisa.